Hello guys, and welcome back to another week of Snowfall news. Seemed like last week went pretty well, so I figured I'd continue to do the audio and visual version. So, we'll continue again this week. As per usual, I have 3 stories for you guys, and we'll start from the top now, shall we? If you'd like to read the article version, you can go down and link below, and you'll find a link to the article over on the blog. So yeah, check that out along with it, whatever you like. So let's get into it, shall we? With the first story, we'll talk about Square Enix strikes back against harassment. So when it comes to gaming discourse in this day and age, I tend to find it ends up being far more on the negative side. Perhaps one could say that's a result of people being more passionate, or maybe because people with negative things to say are more likely to say it. Either way, whenever you consult with a community, that's the sentiment that tends to stand out the most. In fact, this has become so prevalent that there are many people out there who use that fact as their entire career path. Actually, quite a few YouTube channels of people who basically only really report on negative news when it comes to a community or people. It seems to drive a lot more engagement in this day and age. So, while here in the West, it seems that people can get away with saying basically whatever it is they want, that doesn't seem to be quite the case in Japan. Square Enix stated a number of press releases about actions they have taken toward online users who have been posting videos and articles that amounted to threats of violence, harassment, and defamation against employees at the company. In both instances, the company had requested that the site administrators give the company the identity of the posters for legal action, and in both instances, their requests were granted. Square Enix then settled the dispute privately, with the posters taking down their content, paying a fee, and apologizing afterward. The first instance of this happening was a rather surprising event, as obviously this kind of thing very rarely happens, but it seems that Square Enix is committing to taking down videos and articles in the long run that amount to essentially harassment of the employees. I feel as if in the West, this kind of action in certain spaces, people would be rather quick to yell, censorship! But I cannot help but feel as if I take the side of Square Enix when it comes to this kind of thing. Not even referring to games made by Square Enix, but even in regard to a variety of other communities and titles, fans have gotten a little too comfortable when it comes to trash-talking developers on projects. I mean, scathing criticism is one thing, but hoping for harm to developers and, looking into their lives and threatening violence is ridiculous, especially for a hobby that amounts to what is essentially a toy. And so, no matter how you really look at it, it's kind of ridiculous. Acts of violence in the entertainment industry aren't exactly new when it comes to Japan. In 2019, there was a rather infamous incident where a disgruntled writer who had sent in various kind of novel submissions to animation studio Kyoto Animation had basically burned down the studio, resulting in the lives of many members of the studio as well. And I can only imagine that after seeing that, things weren't quite the same when it came to the entertainment industry in Japan. Because that wasn't exactly a one-off incident either. There have been various other incidents of people who would threaten harm or, become really aggressive when it came to things like idols. Idol culture is very popular in Japan. And that similarly has a lot of devoted fans who can become, really attached to the game, to the idol, to the musician, to the brand. It's a really fine line to walk, and I definitely think that has resulted in a lot of developers trying to be especially cautious when it comes to these kind of things. It's rather easy to sell the stuff online, and when your actions have such little consequences. But in this case, I think Square Enix is trying to send a message that, you can't just say stuff, right? If you're going to say something, be civil. Next, we have a bit of different backlash here. So, the latest Fortnite skins are causing some backlash here. So, Fortnite has become one of the biggest, if not the biggest, forerunners of the gaming industry, changing the entire landscape and causing many of the giants of the industry to really change their practices and fall in line, as they can only really kind of chase the coattails of Fortnite. And part of the meteoric rise of the game was its willingness to include, very topical and timely pop culture references. From internet memes to dances and huge IPs, it's just, they're not shying away from trying to appeal to a younger audience. and that has continued since the game's release, almost over 10 years ago now. But perhaps one of the riskier aspects of this strategy was including skins and cosmetics of real people. At first, this began with influencers and players of the game, but eventually, it started to expand to like celebrities and actors and things like that. One of the people who had skins and cosmetics and items in the game was an artist by the name of David, or D4VD, and he even had a whole big event in the game as well in 2024. And he's sort of been around the game in various forms, and although you can't really get the skins now, they used to be able to. And in a recent court case, it seems that David, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, was charged with the murder of a 14-year-old girl. And since this incident, players of Fortnite have requested that many of the emotes and items related to him in the game be removed. And any who had the items want them to not even be there anymore at all. Epic has responded to his requests, and they are accepting refunds for all cosmetics related to D4VD, or David. Indeed, incidents like these are some of the real problems when it comes to including real people in your game. While at first it might seem fine to shake hands with somebody and honor them with a feature in your project, but you just can't really know what someone's going to do in the future, Because now, the moment they're in your game, they're associated with that game. Whether it be in the brand, or whether it be just, as a cosmetic in the game, or, they could gain some kind of notoriety. You're just associated with that person now. And, Epic is not the first to fall for this pitfall. Other projects have done this in the past. Like in recently, Mugenics, which include the voice of Chris Chan, who has had a criminal record recently as well. Or, over at Blizzard, where they had to change an entire champion in Overwatch, who happened to have the name of someone at the company who also, underwent legal challenges. So, while it's nice in the moment, it might be wiser in the long run to keep real people out of your game, at least in that sort of direct, cameo reference kind of angle, because you can't really take them out. I mean, you can, but it's still part of the legacy of the game even after it's gone, right? People still call that character McCree, and they're like, well, why is his name changed? And they have to explain why it's changed, and that's going to be forever a case with that game. So Crimson Desert's ambitions have paid off for Korean developers. Now, this is a pretty interesting one. Of all the games that have come out this year, Crimson Desert has proven to be one of the most talked about. In development for almost 10 years, the scope of the game was by far one of the most ambitious we've had in quite some time. Featuring more gameplay systems than you could imagine, the design and ideas present in the game have caused endless discussions and controversy online. In the end, it resulted in a game that I like to call one that's for freaks. People who are willing to go all in and do a lot of wacky and creative stuff with the game's mechanics. And those who don't quite buy into all that might end up falling to the wayside. A game with much more niche appeal than the relatively high production values might make you think at first. This resulted in reviews that perhaps might not be as big as you would expect for a title like it, but it seems the game's reputation for that didn't hurt sales in the slightest, as the company behind it, Pearl Abyss, has been celebrating the game for reaching 5 million sales, a remarkable milestone for the company's first step into making premium single-player games. Quote, I express my deep respect and gratitude for the hard work of each and every one of you who create a product that the world's enthusiastic about, said CEO Jin Young of Pearl Abyss, and I am paying a celebratory bonus of achieving 5 million sales to all employees who silently fulfilled their roles in their respective positions. End quote. In the past, Pearl Abyss has actually worked on the Korean MMO Black Desert, which, while featuring some similarly interesting ideas and combat systems, followed a monetization practice that's rather standard for the Korean side of things. Heavy-handed, gotcha-focused, and incredibly expensive. This served to alienate quite a few people over in the West, but it still had its devoted fan base. So Crimson Desert seemed to be almost a direct response to that, creating a product that could not only appeal to the West specifically, but also domestically too. In a lot of ways, it was following in the footsteps of Stellar Blade and Shift Up, who were the first to try this sort of strategy. A company traditionally working on a mobile gacha game, then moving to develop a more traditional premium single-player title. Both of these games have seen their success seemingly push the industry in Korea forward, so much so that even the Prime Minister of Korea had words to say on its success. Quote, "This accomplishment serves a crucial turning point, demonstrating that the domestic industry can expand and leap forward across diverse platforms, including consoles," end quote, said Prime Minister Kim Min-suk. Korea, in recent times, has recently begun to put its best foot forward when it comes to the gaming industry. While they've had their standout hits every once in a while, when it came to Asia, Japan has always been at the forefront. But perhaps one of the biggest advantages of this current age is that we're beginning to see a better presence of teams from all across the world. And seeing different styles of storytelling and development is a treat in itself. So I can only hope that we'll begin to see an even wider variety of games from Korea, and hopefully, perhaps, a little less when it comes to the gacha angle. And that's it again for this week's news. I'll be seeing you guys again next week. I'm glad to see people are enjoying these news segments, so I'll keep making them. Until next week, guys, see you later.